Have you ever noticed this kind of strange modern paradox? Think about some of the most genuinely interesting, highly successful, and just calm people you know or hear about. More often than not, they are practically invisible online. No daily stories, no endless streams of selfies, no constant minute-by-minute life updates broadcast to the entire world. I mean, we're living in a landscape where billions of people are fiercely competing for attention every single minute of every single day, right? So choosing to stay quiet is becoming incredibly rare. Now, at first glance, you might just write these folks off as old-fashioned or maybe even anti-technology. But as we're going to uncover in this explainer, psychology suggests there's something way deeper and honestly way more strategic happening behind the scenes.
It really makes you ask the question, where are all the interesting people? Like, why are they willingly stepping away from the likes, the followers, and that endless, exhausting scroll? Well, today, we're going on a psychological exploration to find out why staying quiet online is actually this massive hidden advantage. It literally changes the way people think, how they feel, and how they experience the physical world around them. But to really wrap our heads around this, we have to look past our surface-level assumptions about technology.
Now, before we get too deep into this, I want to clarify exactly what we mean here. It is absolutely not about the platform itself. Simply avoiding social media doesn't magically or automatically make someone smarter. And using it definitely doesn't make someone less intelligent. Millions of absolutely brilliant people use these networks every day to learn new skills, build massive businesses, and stay connected. The real difference we're looking at isn't whether someone uses it, it's the intentionality behind how and why they use it. People who purposefully spend less time online actually share very specific habits that profoundly impact their focus and their decision-making.
Okay, let's dive right into this with secret number 1, guarding the mind and protecting your attention.
Think about how we manage our mental energy. On one side, we've got algorithmic context switching. Psychology studies show that constantly bouncing your attention between tiny fragments of information, like, going from a funny cat video to a breaking news alert to a group chat message, it actually makes it significantly harder to concentrate on a single task later. It completely fractures your focus. But on the flip side, we have deliberate single task focus. People who step back from social media treat their attention not as something cheap to just throw away, but as a finite, highly valuable resource. Instead of letting some algorithm dictate what deserves their brainpower, they choose exactly where to direct it. And this habit, it allows them to think with so much more clarity, stay productive for way longer stretches, and make complex decisions without constantly interrupting their own thought processes.
And that brings us to our second psychological advantage, the validation trap and escaping approval.
To really understand this one, we have to look at the biology driving the behavior, specifically dopamine. Social media platforms are fundamentally built from the ground up around a reward system of likes, comments, and shares. Every single time you get a notification, your brain gets a tiny hit of this chemical, which drives motivation and reward. Now, a little dopamine isn't inherently bad, but constantly seeking this external approval, it slowly chips away at your foundational self-esteem. You actually start measuring your personal worth by the reactions of strangers. People who avoid these platforms step entirely outside this absolutely exhausting, never-ending cycle. They aren't dependent on digital applause. Instead, they build their confidence from the inside out, finding deep satisfaction through private achievements, personal goals, and actual real-world relationships.
Closely tied to that need for validation is the trap of social comparison. This is the habit of constantly measuring your own life, your success, your body, or your bank account against the highly curated lives of strangers. Psychology has long established a really clear link here. Frequent online social comparison leads straight to lower overall life satisfaction and heavily increased stress. When you spend less time scrolling, you naturally cut out this unnecessary, stressful comparison and redirect all that mental energy right back into your own personal growth. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why that comparison is so dangerous. On one hand, we have the highlight reel, the perfect lighting, the amazing beach vacations, the heavily filtered sunsets. But on the other hand, we have behind the scenes, the daily stress, the mundane Tuesday morning traffic jams, the burnt toast. When we take our messy, stressful, real life behind the scenes and compare it to someone else's carefully edited highlight reel, we are always going to feel like we're falling behind. It's inevitable. People who limit their screen time, they simply refuse to play this rigged game.
Let's move on to our third hidden advantage, the power of silence and creating space for deep thinking.
Here is the absolute truth. Great ideas usually don't appear during constant stimulation. They appear during moments of silence. We all have this fundamental psychological need for mental downtime, but modern digital feeds are specifically designed for constant, rapid-fire stimulation, jumping from one piece of content to the exact next. Without a feed to blindly scroll through while you're waiting in line at the grocery store or just sitting on the couch, your brain finally gets the quiet space it so desperately needs. This uninterrupted downtime is exactly when the brain processes complex ideas. It's when it solves difficult problems creatively. It's when you can actually sit back and envision your long-term goals. Disconnecting doesn't mean you're just doing nothing. It means you're giving your brain the breathing room it actually needs to do its absolute best work.
Which leads us to our final section, intentional living and valuing real experiences.
Think about this stark difference in how we actually live our lives. On the one side, capturing moments for an audience. I mean, we've all been there, right? Letting your food get completely cold at a beautiful restaurant just to get that perfect overhead aesthetic shot. On the other side, fully experiencing the real-life moment. Highly disciplined people prioritize their physical reality way over their digital presence. They make a conscious choice about where they actually live, and they find immense emotional fulfillment right there in the moment. They can have a deep, meaningful conversation without constantly glancing at a pinging phone. They can travel to a stunning location without feeling the suffocating anxiety of needing to post an update. They can achieve something amazing without having to prove it to the internet. By letting real experiences take priority, they build vastly stronger, more present relationships.
So the crucial point here is that we can actually map out the habits of these highly focused individuals. First off, they protect their attention fiercely. Second, they seek internal validation rather than chasing digital likes. Third, they avoid unnecessary social comparison. And finally, they deliberately create quiet space for deep thought. Now notice something really important here. These aren't magical traits, and you absolutely do not have to delete all your accounts and go live off the grid in the woods to reap these benefits. Anyone can develop these habits simply by shifting how they interact with their screens.
Which honestly brings us to a mirror we all kind of need to look into. Are you using social media intentionally, or is it using you? The source material we're looking at makes it crystal clear. The technology itself is not the enemy here, but when the app begins to control your attention, rather than you controlling the app to serve your own goals, well, that is when the psychological toll really begins to mount. You have to take back control and become hyper-aware of the role this technology plays in your everyday routine.
Ultimately, the whole thing comes down to this one simple, yet profoundly difficult skill: knowing when to log in and when to log out. If you can use these platforms to learn something new, to build your career, or to connect with family, and then successfully log out without losing 3 hours of your day to a mindless scrolling vortex, you've mastered it. You've taken the essential step toward a genuinely healthy relationship with the digital world. The smartest people aren't necessarily the ones who avoid the internet completely. They're the ones who absolutely refuse to let it master their attention.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a pretty bold, provocative thought to chew on today. If social media just completely disappeared for 1 month, do you think your life would become better, worse, or stay exactly the same? Take a moment to think deeply about your own focus, your stress levels, and your daily habits. The answer you come up with might just reveal exactly what your next step should be. Thank you so much for joining me as we unpack these insights, and remember to keep prioritizing your attention. It is absolutely the most valuable thing you own.